We were thinking about the best way to, kind of talk about the stuff in our world of our Young Hollywood board, just to kind of give you guys, a little bit of insight. We've had the Young Hollywood board since like 2002. No, really? Okay. Well, we've had Young Hollywood people since then. But yeah, we've had the board for a long time, and we love to refresh it with new board members. And these three are three of our wonderful Young Hollywood board members. You've seen a couple of other ones. One thing that obviously this specific generation, Alpha, Z, what? Z.
Z. Are you guys Z as well?
Z, but catering to Alpha sometimes, right?
We are aspirational to Alpha.
Yeah, aspirational to Alpha.
Sometimes it gets scary when you realize that someone who's liking something of yours is like 10.
Right. But I think it's like, the world has obviously changed a lot. We all know, we all hear about the horror stories of social media. Everybody, it was really buzzy last month to talk about adolescence and how horrible the bullying was and is. And I think that there's, yes, there is a lot of stuff that's difficult. And there's clearly a lot of, misinformation and the way that people think. But, I've mentioned this a little bit already. Younger people, specifically 25 and under, are really savvy to climate issues and sustainability. And I think that a lot of it has to do with amazing women like yourself, and non-binaries like Analesa, who are extending their messaging on social media and kind of informing in really approachable ways. And so, what we thought in this particular panel was that we were going to talk about the pitfalls, but also the triumphs and the way forward. As we know, the easiest way for a generation to learn trends is through the people that they look up to, and the easiest way to make bad habits is the same. So this is really just all about that. It's just a loose conversation to kind of give your thoughts on these things. Yeah. Okay, question number one. Misinformation is rampant on social media. So what resources or strategies do you use to ensure the posts you share are correct and impactful? So that's super interesting. So, when you post something, right, do you guys check it before,
Always, yes. No, I follow a couple great news sources that are also particularly nonpartisan. Ground News is really great on Instagram. They show a graph of what outlets, leaning left or right or center, are covering certain topics. And they always cite sources, and I make sure if I see something and I don't see a source, I don't see somebody who I've, know or trust, I look for an edu, a .org, some sort of study to back it up, or a reputable news source that's hopefully like an AP or a Reuters that could back something up and I know is nonpartisan and usually research-based, and that's kind of how I like to do things. What do you think?
I make it kind of like a general note for myself of like, shut the fuck up about anything you don't know about. And my whole thing is sharks. And so when it comes to sharks, like, I know my trusted sources. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but if it's like a wildaid.org, or we talk a lot about PBS is a great one, the Shark Trust, things like that, I will be very loud and proud about it. When it comes to other things, I have to go through a lot more checking before just like reposting something on a story. I think, especially when we talked about the fires, there was so much just reposting, and there was like AI, like people were posting videos of like baby pandas getting saved. There was like AI in the forest, and I was like, what's happening? So I think making sure that you take those extra steps when you know there are people watching you is really important.
Peyton.
Yeah, I've joined organizations like Slow Factory, like just donating to them and joining the Zooms and just like connecting with people and having a conversation about it first as well, like just before sending a post and kind of going rogue.
Or like woofing. So we were just talking about this thing called woofing that Peyton's doing right now, and can you explain what that is?
Yeah, it's a worldwide organization of organic farming. So I just signed up, and I've been like living on a farm, and I came back from the farm for this. But yeah, I've just been like learning.
So do you feel like in your situation Do you feel you want to chime in on the woof?
No, I was gonna say that's so cool.
Love
Sorry.
woofing.
Do you? It sounds like you feel like you need to literally be in front of people to know that they are not lying.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I feel like I've been like lucky enough to have this platform and to have people who follow me, but I also feel like I need to look to other people before posting. I'm not the expert, so.
Right. Question. I have a follow up that's not on here. So I started using Chat GPT because my wife's like, you should use that instead of Google, and so which I've been using. But here's my question: like, is that a more valuable place to get information because it calls from everywhere than like going to a Google?
That's a very good question. I would say that I am such a source nerd. I love to see the sources. Like I'm the type that like looks down for the to see the citations and things
Right.
like that. That I'm always going to find Google. There's very rare things that I look for. Actually, so far, the only thing I've used ChatGPT for is actually like Bible quotes and things like that. Like looking, because it can summarize the entire, like, what does Jesus say about the environment? And then I could be like, here's some quotes, and then like quote it at people and be like, this is what Jesus says about the environment.
Shame. We love
Oh,
shame.
shame. No, but like I for things like that, I could like summarize an entire like piece of literature. Like it's pretty like straightforward. Whereas like with sources and it could just be replicating the same bad source. But I don't know. I'm
Got
not an
it.
expert.
Yeah, I at least from everything that I know specifically about GPT and generative AI is that it is doing its best as far as compiling things, but that's compiling everything that's on the internet, and so much of that is already false
Right.
that it can't spit something out and say, and we are 100% sure that is the truth.
Right.
This is not environmental related, but you can look up on Google your symptoms for something. It'll give you an AI overview and just be like, you have cancer, and you're like, what? Like, it's just not.
Gotcha.
It's not reliable. So when it comes to posting about something that is so important as this and is so, for some reason, controversial as these subjects get, it is really important to be like, I will look you dead in the eye, and you can trust I'm not lying.
Got it. You feel the same way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now the kind of the other side of this, which is my little pun on the title here, is how do your audiences react to when you post environmental stuff?
Oh, you want me to go first?
I'll go first. No, I felt like I was hogging. Like I go first.
I like hearing you talk.
I like hearing you talk.
You're really pretty.
You're really cool and pretty and cool. Way do people interact? Usually it's nice. Like it's actually very rare that I get hate comments. I think because I keep things very positive, especially with my dad. And I try to come from a place, my dad, who is also an environmentalist, for the maybe two people in the room that don't know that, he's just a generally very sunny guy. And so it's very hard to like hate on people who are just like, watch me plant a tomato today. And it's like, people can't really hate on that much. But I did, when I first started my public transportation series, get a lot of hate, actually. On my first video, I started the series where I took public transportation in Los Angeles for 7 days straight. The last day I took it to the Oscars. But when I first started it, my first episode, I took it just to do some errands. I was unemployed at the time, so I, went to the bakery and to the dry cleaners, and people were like, "Why are you, quote, playing poor?" And I was kind of heartbroken because I hate that the assumption of this like thing that I see as a universal good for any society, like public transportation, something that is both a climate, an answer, a solution, and also I just believe a public good. I think we should have functioning public transportation because I think it's just good for society, and I think we should all come together to support that, no matter your tax bracket. But that there would be an assumption that those who need to take public transportation would be the ones to do it. And so that was what I challenged in my next one, is like, this is why I'm doing it. I'm an environmentalist. A, it's good for the planet. And B, I challenged the idea that, I can go to Barnes & Noble and buy a book today, but I'd love to support the public library, right? I can get in my car and drive, but I'm choosing to take public transit because it is meaningful to me. So I think people like to be upset sometimes too. And when you run into those, avenues where people are wanting to be mad about something. And there's something real in that. There's some emotion in that maybe they have taken public transportation and they feel that it wasn't adequate enough. And I feel bad for that. And I hope that there's better funding too. But, I think there's some people who are always going to be mad. But coming with positivity is, I think, the best answer.
Oh yeah. I mean, again, when you have to remember that someone could have like an anime picture of Satoru Gojo and their handle could be like Sneeze79 and they're like a 9-year-old, and you don't want to get in a fight with someone like that. So anything that you can do to keep it positive, I think is the best way to go. I honestly don't get that much hate. I think I picked a cool thing to be a conservationist about. People kind of like sharks for the most part. I get people are like, oh, well, Analesa, but I'm afraid of them and this and that. And I'm like, well, here's why you shouldn't. And, shark terrorism and Jaws, we could go all day long about that. But here's the real facts and here's all this stuff. But I really try to keep it light and cater to what they like to do. Like, we make like shark tier lists about like which shark would slay the most on the red carpet at the Met Gala. And
Which one won?
The Wabagon shark.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful carpet shark. Look it up later. Stunning. Frills everywhere. But we do stuff like that, and then in that I give a lot of little like facts and things that we can talk about. And my big platform is trying to get people to stop eating fish because supporting the big fishing industry is doing a detriment to our oceans and plastic contribution and everything. And I've changed a lot of young kids' minds, probably not to the likeness of their parents, I'm assuming, but because they just don't know. And when you come at it from like hey, we're doing a tier list about which shark looks the coolest and then bringing some of that education in, they want to learn. So keeping it positive, I think, is just the best way to go. And then, if someone is confused or angry, to just be like, it's all good, man. We're on Instagram. Why are you so upset? Doesn't matter.
Peyton.
I agree. Yeah, I guess I just post a story so they can't comment. No, I'm kidding.
Perfect. There you go.
No, yeah, I guess it becomes like environmental stuff becomes political somehow. And so people are upset at that, but then they just unfollow me, I guess, which is fine.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I mean, look, your audience is going to be your audience, and hopefully they'll embrace, all that stuff. Okay, what's our next question? What have you found surprising about getting people to engage with environmental posts? And what is something that worked that you didn't think was going to work?
Oh, that's so interesting. I wasn't sure that the public transportation series was going to work. I wanted it to work.
Doesn't really sound like it worked up front, so.
It didn't work up front, but I went viral for hate, which was kind of great because then it launched me into getting like millions more views. But I don't actually realize how many people are watching and seeing my stuff. When somebody actually comes up to me that I don't know in public and says, I see your posts, I'm like, how? I still think like I'm on private or something. No, people see these things. And I guess just keeping things positive, is something that has always worked for me, and always trying to like understand where somebody's coming from. I never like to antagonize anyone. There's a lot of, we see it in the data. Algorithms are trained in a way to evoke some sort of anger or polarizing response from people. And so I try to dial that back, and instead of trying to incite, somebody to angrily comment because I've made them the villain, by anybody who uses X amount of X type of car is a bad person. The other way of looking at it is maybe you can, look at your consumption and here's why it's not good, right? It challenges people in a kind way to look at what they're doing. I have a lot of people who ideologically disagree with me or leaning more conservative that I guess I'm like their token left-leaning hippie girl who they like to follow because they know I'm going to be fair and honest and understanding,
Yeah, you're kind of, not a bad, I'll call you a creator, not an influencer. You're kind of a creator. Do you do like challenges? Are there any have you gamified your accounts at all to do things with people to inspire them to do things?
Yes, well, we did one Earlier this week.
Well, we just did that, but I
Okay,
mean,
yeah.
before that. But
Sorry.
yeah, but
No,
yes, that was
I was
that
just
was
trying
fun.
to plug you.
Yeah.
No, I try to gamify it a little bit. I try to present it as something. I'm actually working on a series right now about reducing plastic. So I have 3 bins of Tupperware in my kitchen. You'll see this on TikTok in a couple days. And there's one for trash, one for recycling, one for compost, and they're like, this big. And I'm going to try to make it a week with everything fitting in this. So like 0 waste as much as possible. And I'm working with Regrocery, who I love actually, and who
Nice.
I was already going to feature before they were a sponsor. And I love them so much. I've been there many times in the last couple days. To try and challenge myself, to
Do you
change.
challenge your audience at the same time? Like, I'm going to do this. Like, you want to send me a video of you guys doing this too? Or
I don't think I've ever done that. And I think you're inspiring
Try it.
me
You should
in
try to
this
do that.
challenge to challenge my audience.
a big part of, getting to that next level of influence.
Yeah, I would say things that work is like stuff that it's like playing the algorithm, which is so dumb and I hate it, but like when I post something about like when Shark Week comes up, which don't get me started on Shark Week, there's a lot of misinformation there, but I use it as a time to like try to get all the eyes over to where I'm trying to do with the activism instead of what they're doing. And if I post a picture of my face, it's way more likely to get so much more engagement. But then you look at the actual like what I'm posting about, and it's all these facts and whatever. So then the comments are all of a sudden like, oh, I didn't know any of that. I came and I liked your post because it was you and you're the person that I'm here following, but here's the actual content of what you're getting. And I do that like 3 or 4 times in the week. And then I use my stories. Well, I already have people's eyes to post all of the graphics and stuff, versus if I just post like a straight graphic to my feed, it gets like the least amount of likes of anything on my page. So it's like weird and it feels sleazy, but it's like anything to get people's eyes on where they need to be. Or part of my shark activism is I'm autistic, and it's been my special interest since I was born, and I have a collection of 395 shark stuffed animals at home. And it's been a weird thing with my audience of like they want to know every single one of their names, they want to know where they got all of them. And now when I go to conventions and sign stuff, people will bring their own shark stuffed animals. They say, I went and I bought this and I want you to sign it. And I will sit there and we will have a full conversation about what they learned and why they're now into sharks and everything. So it's just like, again, it's like getting down to the level of the people who are interacting with your stuff. If they're all younger than me and they're still into stuffed animals and I've got this giant collection, why not meet them halfway? So it's doing weird stuff like that, or a tier list that may work more than just posting a block of information and a graphic that people are just going to go, oh, it's too much, I don't want to look at it, and scroll past.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly figuring it out and just posting what I like and hoping that it works and that it resonates. Yeah, I'm constantly learning.
Great. You guys are all on different platforms, and I'm sure you've all been, from one platform to the other, something becomes, an easier communication tool as you change ages and whatnot. What platforms, tend to work best, and for what things?
I would say TikTok has been my chosen one, because I have the biggest audience on there for quite some time in terms of like posting, more planned out videos and things like that. And that has helped with like my series and featuring my dad also does well on there, because if his face is in the first 3 seconds, it gets a lot more traction, because people will comment and they'll be like, young Sheldon, and then more people will comment and actually see what I'm talking about. But that has been great for that. But in terms of actually speaking to my audience and having more direct communication, Instagram has been my chosen. That's where I also.
And do you do different programming on different ones, or are you just
Yeah.
basically doing shorts and whatever the hell they call it, Instagram, and then TikTok? Are they all
Reels.
the same video?
Some that do really well on TikTok, I will take it over to Instagram and be like,
On Reels.
yeah, just so I could, have it on there too. But I do more personal stuff on Instagram for sure. And I post more like news stuff. Like I'll repost
Got it.
on my story something with ground news or something. Yeah.
Instagram is probably the main one, but Twitch otherwise, like genuinely, that's if I want to have a real in-time conversation with people, Twitch is the best way to do it, because they're live commenting. They're going, well, what about this or what about that? And I go, well, that's really interesting. Let's have a conversation about it.
You
Again,
want to explain to like some of the people here who
what
have no
Twitch
idea what
is?
Twitch is?
Yeah, it's a big gaming platform. People will go live on Twitch and they'll play games most of the time, Fortnite, Overwatch, any of those. And you have an audience. People will be watching you, and they can live comment. And a lot of the times, those comments, the chat will come up on screen, so people will have a direct line to communicate with people. And there's bits and subscribing involved, and there's money and stuff. And a lot of people make a living on Twitch, like gamers do. But I'm a voice actor as well as an on-camera actor, so
Also in games.
yeah, that's the thing.
And also, your partner is
games.
also big on Twitch.
Yeah, my partner is very big on Twitch. My partner is in Overwatch, so they're
over there? Where are they?
They're sitting in the audience, hiding their face now, and they're very similar. They get on Twitch and they tweet out, "Hey, I'm going live on Twitch," and people want to come because it's for fans. Fans can message us all day long, but you've got thousands of messages, you can't respond to them all. But if someone's talking to you right there, it's much easier to just live response. So I'll go live, or I'll go live with another gaming friend of mine. And again, we'll do something stupid like a shark tier list, or let's go through all my shark stuffed animals. And all of a sudden people are getting engaged in that conversation and going, well, now I have questions. Or they'll say, that's really interesting. I never knew that before. And you can have those direct conversations. And a lot of times I meet those people later at conventions. And again, they say that. They go, it was because of this stream that you did that made me stop eating fish, or that made me do this.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Great.
What about you?
I'll go live on TikTok, and I think there's something really exciting and like captivating about it being live, and the energy of like just being able to communicate right then and there. But mostly Instagram is what I use. It's a lot mentally social media for me. So I really have to. I love posting about environmental issues, and that's really what I'll go on for. But it's difficult for me to post anything else. Really, I'm like kind of creating a relationship with it just for
Yeah, and I
important
mean,
things.
and you've obviously, specifically, you have this fostered in audience. There's a large audience that you've had for a long time, so you almost have to be really careful curating it, I would imagine, the way that you handle what you're posting and stuff.
Yeah, I try to do as much research as possible, just because there are so many people on there, and there's so many different people of all different political outlooks. So I try to be I just try to post information and just kind of leave it there. Just post facts.
All right, so as a follow-up to that, we'll start with Peyton and work our way back. We'll do like a snake style over here. How about that? How do you present your message, and do you find a negative or a positive spin works best?
I mean, I really agree with what you guys said about putting a positive spin on it and trying to be hopeful. That's what I really love about Emma's post, and why I was so drawn to the social media account, is just because it is really welcoming, and it feels like anyone can kind of join in on the conversation, and that's really where I try to keep it as well.
I want to give a shout out to Jay, who has curated our social media landscape for over a decade and runs all of our marketing and comms as well, since we don't talk about him very much. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we learned from this last election, even nobody likes to be shamed. People feel very comfortable having an opinion and sticking with that opinion, as they should. That's what we're humans, free will. That's what Earth was all supposed to be all about. But if you shame someone into saying you're doing this, so therefore you're the reason that the environment is tanking, or you're the reason that this is happening, people are just going to be backed into a corner and go, I don't want to do it. And especially with how the world is right now, I have many friends who will say, Analesa, I want to do something, but I get on social media or I look at the news for 5 seconds and it's too much, and I don't know what to do with it all. So something that I try to cultivate even in my platform, where I'm very into this one specific part of conservation, is that I tell people, and we talked about this yesterday, it doesn't have to be that. If sharks aren't your thing, not a problem. It might be transportation, it might be fashion, it might be deforestation, it might be, you can find the thing that you're passionate about that gives you hope, and do that 100%.
That is so true, and I just want to stop on that for a second. Like, we all are environmentalists in some kind of way in this audience, and honestly, more people are environmentalists than they think in the world. And I think that the misnomer is you need to be everything.
You can't.
You need to be,
Too much.
you need to never wear leather. You need to, not drive a car. You got to be vegan, all these things. And they become restrictions and guardrails for people because of the shame element of it, right? Whereas, like each of us have our special thing that we feel is important. And it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be that your restriction is if you only are into one thing that is important for the planet, that you don't get to say that you are doing something positive sustainably. And I think that the more we can extend that message, the better off we'd be.
100%. Yeah.
I agree. I think that's beautiful. I think, I've definitely found that in my life. I have incredible mentors now that I'm getting more into like plastic pollution, like Deanna Cohen, who that is what she focused on. I'm going to focus on plastic pollution. My sister, she is a watershed specialist. So she has zeroed in on, she knows everything about water recycling, natural sourced water, how we in LA specifically deal with our water. And my dad has for so long, he's kind of been the personal responsibility guy. How can I do things each day in my life to combat certain things? For a long time that was, not driving a gas-powered car. And for me, transportation has been my big thing and something I'm very, very passionate about as a social good and also as something for the environment. But yeah, remaining positive and solution-oriented. All about solutions. Their solutions are available to us, and if we could be the people to champion them, that's we're making a change.
Going back to social media, it's kind of what social media is all about, right? All of our accounts are representing what's important to us, right? And so often, there are, especially young people, old people, who want to be quote unquote environmental. They greenwash their own accounts, right? They're just like, I'm going to put everything out. That goes with any type of activism, honestly. Like something, if you want to feel like you're, doing something and representing something, you just post everything because you feel like you got to post everything, right?
It doesn't come off as authentic.
It does
either.
not at all. And so I think it's so important, as we move forward and, many generations now of having social media, we learn that it's a representation of who we are personally. And so we should really be careful about the things we post that we might not know so much about, that we just feel like we have to post, right? And instead post more and more about the things we do know, and don't feel insecure that you're only posting about one thing, because that one thing you probably know better than everyone else. You might think everybody knows it, and people don't really know it, Yeah. Okay, it sounds like we have one more question. How do you think we can get younger people to care? I want to change that. Younger people care. So I didn't write these. Not all questions I wrote. I don't think that younger people don't care. I think that's actually, especially with Alpha and a little bit with the Gen Z, there's a lot of care, and I think that the second part of this though is true. It's hard to keep attention of people that constantly have, that doom scroll all day long, and how do you get that feed stop? How do you get someone excited about something that they may think they know about already, or that they've seen a million times in some sort of thing, and they just scroll. Like, how do you get that moment of this is my moment, my 10 seconds with this one person, I'm gonna grab their attention?
Do you want to take it away? Okay. Gosh. Well, I always like to engage with humor. That's kind of how I started. A lot of my videos are in some way funny, some way eye-catching, and it is real about the attention thing, right? Especially with TikTok, you have to grab somebody's attention within the first 3 seconds on average, or else they will scroll away. And I notice it even with myself, just scrolling through TikToks. And so I think, having it be a subject that you can introduce, because, you would say, oh, well, let's just make it really flashy in the beginning and we'll get their attention. People are already becoming desensitized to that. So getting something that's engaging, you presenting yourself as a creator, as somebody who speaks on issues like this, as soon as they see your face, most of the time, they will be like, oh, I want to hear what she has to say. If the caption says something about something that you're passionate about, I do think you're right. Gen Z and Alpha do care. They see the threat that climate change and a lot of these issues are going to have on their future. They feel that. They feel the weight of that, and so they want to be a part of the solution, but it can all feel like a lot sometimes. And so I think, little things that they can do actually do make a difference.
Yeah. Putting the power back in their hands and making sure that hope is still alive. Because, like we all just said with the doom scrolling, it's like you get off and you're just like, what's the point? It seems like there's nothing we can do about anything, which, as we know, is not the case. And so it's all about, A, making it fun. I think what we talked about yesterday with Minecraft and the planting of the mango trees, I love that. I think that's awesome. Kids love to play games. Kids love to engage, like to get their hands on things and do something, So if you can put that power in their hands and engage with them in that way, I think that we'll have no problem. I think it's just getting it off of the shame and getting it off the don't scroll or else the whole planet's gonna blow up in 2 seconds. It's like, that's too much. It's just it's too much for one person to handle. And with our generation, and even the younger generation, they're growing up in unprecedented times, obviously, but that doesn't mean that they always have to be.
Yeah, I feel like just keeping it as real and honest as possible. I feel like just now almost going against that so hard, the trying to catch the attention and trying to post the most flashy thing, just people speaking to the camera in the car seems to just, if they're speaking from the heart, it seems to really cut through. Just being as honest as humanly possible when communicating.
Great. All right. Well, we are done.